Well, hello there, and welcome to another episode of the Caregiver Cup podcast. It is so nice to meet you. It's Kathy Vanden Heuvel here. And today in the podcast episode, we're talking about what is the best exercise for you right now. As a caregiver, we know that our seasons are just up and down sometimes, and we know how important it is to move our body. And so, in today's episode, I want to talk about three things. I want to talk about why moving is so important. I want to talk about the benefits of movement. So, that's the why. I also want to talk about the statistics from a caregiver perspective that are just alarming when it comes to all of the cards and all of the deck is just laying against you. I don't even know if that's the right analogy, but all the cards are stacked against you when it comes to caregiving. And so you have to think about caregiving and exercise as the management tool to reduce your stress. And so I also want to focus on what types of movements you should try in difficult times, because it's easy for you to go ahead and set a goal for exercise and do something that takes a lot of time. But in caregiving, we don't have a lot of time sometimes, or our bodies are just beaten down and we have to find the right exercise for us right now. And so I want to give you that, because I know what you think, and I think the same way. Is us as caregivers, when we hear the words, Don't forget to take care of yourself," or "You got to put yourself first," or "Self care is so important," but your loved one is in hospice, or your loved one just found out that they need now a stem cell transplant, or they're extremely sick and you're exhausted for staying up all night, you can't go ahead and tax your body. You have to find different ways to exercise. And so that's what I want to get at today. And I'll promise I won't get on that soapbox too much, but I'll be honest with you, it just ticks me off when I hear that caregivers need to do this and they need to do that and they need to do that. And I'm like, have you been here before? Do you know what it feels like right now? I'm going through tons, and so that's what I wanna talk about today. I'm already fired up. So why is moving so important? And I wanna talk about that, but I wanna start out with a story, or an analogy, because I used to go ahead and prior to caregiving, I went to the gym all the time. We had a gym that was about 20 minutes away, Dennis and I did, my husband, and we would do this boot camp hit style workout where you taxed your body for about 30 to 45 seconds, you rested for a minute. You did all of this intense workout, and it was about 30 to 45 minutes, but it was a good cardio workout, good strength training workout. And I did that. Then I found out my dad had pancreatic cancer. 2 weeks later, my husband had stage 4 non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, and I tried to go to the gym. I tried to work out. And in my last episode, I talked a little bit about missing my partner, but this is a little bit different, because when I went to work out, there were days where I was just exhausted physically, mentally. I was fatigued. My stomach hurt because I was worrying so much. And I just had to finally say, is this the right thing for me? Is this the right workout for me? Because you have to, first of all, it was a commitment that you paid for and you had to go. And it was there were specific times, and the flexibility wasn't there for me anymore. I have to be at appointments all day, or I'd have to make up time for my job. And so I had to think about that. Sure, I yearned for the physical connection, but I didn't need a trainer or a coach saying, push it, Kathy, go faster, go harder, when my body just couldn't do it anymore. it couldn't do it today. And so I want to talk about why moving is so important, but why the right type of exercise is going to be so important for you as well. And so when days are filled with your list of caregiving activities and responsibilities and tasks, it's difficult to find time to do your exercise. So I want to talk about, first of all, if you're the one that's not exercising at all right now, I want you to think about how important it is. But I also don't want you to be discouraged to think that you need to go ahead and have this huge commitment. If you only can do 5 or 10 minutes today, that's exercise. And you have to find what's fun as well. And I'm giving away a little bit of the pieces today ahead of time, but let's talk about why it's so important. First of all, there are 5 reasons why exercise is so important as a caregiver. It prevents depression and anxiety, and exercise stimulates the endorphins that are in your mind that promote happiness and get you uplifting, and they stick around for hours after you exercise, and it lowers the feeling of depression and sadness. So when you engage in activity, it can release things like worry and fear and everything that's heavy for you. And it might even give you the capacity to handle issues and make better decisions. I find myself when I come back from a walk or during my walk, I can find that I'm like, oh, I can problem solve a little bit better. It's almost like you're releasing it. Another one is think about if you are doing a lot of different physical tasks than you used to be doing. A normal day for a caregiver, especially if you're dealing with somebody that doesn't have the capacity to go ahead and take care of themselves, you might be doing baths or lifting them out of their chair or doing a lot more physical activity. And by you thinking about exercise as a way to prevent injury, that might be key for you. Or the flip side, if you're sitting more often, and I found myself doing this when Dennis was going through his stem cell transplant, I was always sitting in a waiting room chair and I wasn't moving a lot, and I was feeling aches and pains in my back, and you just didn't you were relaxing your muscles too much. And so you might, when we talk about different types of activity, you might try strength training or yoga or stretching or whatever, a regimen to go ahead and help protect your body so you don't get injured. Another one is the quality of sleep. Exercising helps your quality of sleep. Only disclaimer is don't do it 2 hours before you go to bed or within 2 hours before you go to bed because you're just kind of lifting your body up. But throughout the day, if you did an exercise, your body's going to be a little bit more relaxed and might even be tired from a workout. And so you might get that quality of sleep that you're not getting right now. Physical exercise prepares the body for bedtime by burning off excessive energy. And then the same endorphins that lift you up can also lift depression or clear depression away and help you get a better night's sleep. So, an example for me is on Wednesday nights, I bowl right around 5 p.m. or so. I come home and have dinner, and I'm just like, oh, yes, I feel a lot more relaxed because I did that little bit of activity in the middle of the day. And so that helps me as well. Now, I can't do bowling every day because my muscles would really scream at me. Um, Exercise can also help you establish social connections. Think about it when you barely have time for exercise or you're skipping exercise, finding somebody else that can be your accountability partner. Maybe it's a neighbor that you can go for a 10-minute walk with, or your friend to say, we're going to do yoga every day at this time. So get it on your calendar. You can get 2 for the price of 1. And so you can think about that. Or maybe it's a sport that you like to play, like maybe it's golf or like I talked about bowling. I never thought bowling would be an activity. I looked at my watch last night after my bowling, and my heart rate was higher than it was when I walked in the morning because we're in pairs. It's not like it's like a big group, and so there's two pairs on this side and two pairs of on this side of the lane, and it's like every other time, and so you get like maybe 30 to seconds to a minute before you have to bowl again. But it boosts your energy when you have social interaction with it or a connection and you fit that in with it. Maybe you can call a friend up and saying, "Hey, I got a little bit of time tomorrow morning. Do you have time? You want to go ahead and do a bike ride together or go to the gym and work out, whatever works best for you." Now, another thing is, and I'll get into this one a little bit more, or actually a lot more with some statistics, you need to maintain your overall health as a caregiver, right? We both need to. And I know you feel guilty, and I feel guilty for leaving my loved one and putting myself as priority, but it's necessary. I always say, what happens if you get sick? What happens if you're not there? And it can ward off situations or illnesses or serious health problems. Think about it as 10 minutes a day or 20 minutes a day or whatever. If I can go ahead and move my body, I'm putting the shield up between getting sick or not. Not saying you're not going to, but you're building your body's immune system as much as you possibly can. Now, I know what you're going to say here, and that's why I put these in all caps at the bottom here. You might say things like, "I don't have time." And that is a legit excuse. Or, "When do I have the time? When can I find the time?" Or, "I'm too exhausted." And I'm going to talk about that one. Or, "I don't feel like it. I just don't feel like it." My sister would say, "I hate exercising. I don't like to exercise." We're going to talk about some of those. Before that, I want to go ahead and just put some statistics behind it because I want you to really, if one of these statistics sticks in your head, and it motivates you to exercise, I did my job. And so there's so much research behind the risk of not exercising, and then top off caregiving on top of that. We're destined in a way to catch something or have issues with something. And so by trying to do a little bit, we're trying to ward off as much as we can. So here are some of these statistics. The first two are from the CDC, and they say 14.1%, how important is that, of caregivers reported heart disease and or strokes. I have clients that experience this. I've had an EKG done because of the stress and anxiety. It is real. It is. If you have high blood pressure right now and you never had high blood pressure before, stress is like constantly trying to push you down and taxing your body. And so that's one. Here's another stat: 40%, 40.7% of caregivers report two or more chronic diseases, especially diagnosed during their caregiving time. I can attest to this. I have GERDs. I have depression. I'm trying to think of what else I have. I have irritable bowel syndrome. So those are just ones that I never had before caregiving. Never had. What do you have? Is it high blood pressure? Is it diabetes? Whatever. And if you have a chronic condition before caregiving and now you have it, watch out. Be very cautious about this and think of ways that you can go ahead and make sure that you keep it under control. Now, the next stat is from the AARP, and 40% of caregivers feel emotionally stressed. Their thoughts and their feelings and their emotions. They're emotionally stressed. Anger, resentment, worry, guilt, frustration, crying, uh, you know, uh, hiding away, whatever it would be. They have that anxiety, they have that emotional stress. Okay, now there is from the AARP, they broke it down a little bit. Of that 40%, 20% said it caused financial problems because of that emotional stress. Maybe they weren't able to go to work. Maybe they weren't able to have the energy to go ahead and call the insurance company and appeal that claim or get that approval. I don't know, whatever it is. Of that 40% also, 20% felt the physical strain from the emotions, body aches, pain, inability to go ahead and get out of bed, whatever that would be. Gosh, these are so alarming. They're so alarming. Now, there was also a study done from the Arch I don't know how to pronounce it, Archangel Archangel National Caregiver Survey, and it was done through the Blue Cross Blue Shield company, and it said 57% reported high levels of stress, anxiety, and or depression. Oh my gosh, that is so true. Over half of us feel stress, over half of us feel anxiety and depression and sadness and loneliness and isolation. It is common. The same study said 23% reported that caregiving negatively impacted their physical health. And this is the kicker here. Impacted their physical health because they probably don't have or didn't have the energy, or they don't feel like going ahead and doing anything socially or physically or spiritually. They kind of are isolated or feel alone. Now, there are some more here of these 23% that reported it impacted them physically and negatively impacted them physically. Of these 23%, 43%, I'm sorry, 14% reported that they resorted to alcohol to cope. 18% said they coped with medication, and that could be, prescribed medication, that could be, unprescribed medication. 50% of these 23, half of them said they coped with food. Eh, Yes, I resorted to my comfort food, my fried food, my sugar food, my processed food, the drive out food, whatever it would be. And you can see how this just becomes a spiraling effect on everything. So enough of the sad stats, but what I wanted to really hit home with is you're probably in one or more of these. I'm in one or more of these. Caregivers in general will that we're doomed. We're going to go ahead and experience this. So one thing though that we can control, because there's a lot of things we can't control, but one thing that we can use as a tool is movement. And you notice how I shifted a little bit to movement because exercise sometimes is a trigger word for people, but just movement is going to be something that you can think about. Maybe you park farther away and that's what you do for the week because you have no other thing to do. Maybe you squat during your doing your dishes. I'll get into some more, but those are just a couple things that come to my mind right now. Um, as I said at the beginning, we as caregivers have very little time, spare time for ourselves. So when we get a break, all we want to do is probably rest. All we would want to do is just veg out rather than moving our body. Yes, exercise can make us feel better. It can prevent injuries. It can help prevent illness and it can give us a good night's sleep. But that in itself, when we're feeling exhausted, may not be enough. And so that's why it's really important to think about what is the right exercise for me right now. And you might have to ask yourself this weekly or daily or each caregiving season that you're in. And the example that just pops up in my mind is, let's say we're looking at a pregnant mom. At the beginning of her pregnancy, she was much more active physically. But as she gets bigger, from a lack of a term, or her hormones are kicking in, getting closer to the delivery of her baby, a 9-month-old mom may not be able to go ahead and do all of these physical things because of her physical capacity, her mental capacity, and her emotional capacity. And it's okay. She does what she can do based on how she feels, and she still does stuff because it's important for her to keep her body in shape so that she can have a healthy delivery. The science behind the moving is fascinating, and I'm just doing basic stuff right now. Basics information such as cardio. We'll go through different types of working out. The 2 cardio pieces are moving your body, getting your heart rate up. It improves your stamina. You gotta go all day long, and then you have to go ahead and work because you, missed work, and had to take your loved one to an appointment today. You have to build your stamina up. You're sitting all day in the waiting room. You have to sit at your desk, and so what can you do to go ahead and build up your stamina? Cardio activity like walking or running or lifting weights or biking, dancing, it improves your cardiovascular health, reduces stress, and then releases these endorphins. And again, if you don't know what endorphins are, I think of the Kathy word as happy hormones. It boosts your mood, it strengthens your immune system, and it tames even your hunger because all you want to do right now is go to food that can cope you as well. When I first was diagnosed, I with or my husband and dad were diagnosed with cancer. Oh God, I don't want to even say I was diagnosed because I haven't, knock on wood. Um, I was training for my ninth half marathon. All that summer, I was going ahead and I had this plan where each week I was increasing my miles until I got up to the 13.1 mile mark. And so I was working and training my body and that sort of thing. Bam, September hit. And my race was in the middle of October. And I stopped because I had to go ahead and put my attention with my dad and my husband who had were diagnosed 2 weeks apart. Now, hindsight said I should have just granted myself grace and not ran that marathon, knowing that when you take 2 to 3 weeks off, it's hard to go ahead and get that stamina built back up. And I wasn't sleeping, I wasn't eating well. I totally lost my training plan. And I actually feel like I stressed my body out to the point of opening myself up to more trouble in October. But I did it. I finished it. It wasn't pretty. I cried most of the way. I whined most of the way because it was just an emotional and physically exhausting race for me. But another form of cardio that might be easier for some people is strength training. It does the same thing as cardio, but it also increases the bone density, the aches, the pains, the strength that you may need. I love this also. It balances your cortisol because cortisol during stress likes to really, for me, likes to sit right in my gut, and it also balances the insulin and it helps your whole endocrine system and your endocrine health. Now, how do you do that? Now, your own body weight is really kind of the simplest way to do it. Sorry, I'm backing away. I can lean on my desk and I can go ahead and do this while I'm working and just continue to do that. I'm working my stomach muscles, I'm working my arm muscles. You could do squats while you're doing the dishes or while you're brushing your teeth. Hey, do 5 today, do 6 tomorrow, do 7, whatever it would take, and just go ahead and do that. I'll show you some things that I have at my desk here that I've had for over 5 years because I know that when I was going through all of this with my dad and my husband and then eventually with my mom in this 5.5 year journey, I still worked. I still did my business, and it was hard to fit in home, work, business, uh my mom, my dad, my husband, my taking care of the house, all that kind of stuff. And so I thought, well, what could I do and get creative? So let me show you a couple of things. I have weights at my desk. I just have weights at my desk. And it's really easy to go ahead and do weights. Now, it took me a long wait time to get up to 8, but I have it. And then my dogs bit these, by the way. I have a puppy, so I have weights at my desk. I also have I also have bands. You can get the rubber band ones, but I got this through a uh a box that I did. And I mean, simple things like I'm going to hook it up on my feet so you can't see it, but I could do this at my desk when I'm talking on the phone or when I'm going ahead and listening to a webinar, when I'm on a conference call. Nobody's going to see me if they do, I can tell them what I'm doing. I also have this. I got this years ago at a rummage sale, but uh this simple thing here, I step up and down on it. And I can step up and down on it and just walk. I would do it sometimes during a commercial, walking up and down on it during a commercial. So you can do that. I also have I have a foam roller. So if my back is sore or my calves are sore, I can go ahead and roll on a foam roller. Get creative. There are so many things that you can do. You can do yoga. I have a yoga app on my phone, and my phone is out in the hallway because I didn't want it to beep during this thing. But uh, so you can go ahead and find a free app. I think my yoga one is Yoga to Go. I don't know. I it paid less than $5 for it. And I think it was 199 as a matter of fact. You can find yoga that's you can look for times, and maybe you only have 10 minutes. It can tell you if you're a beginner, intermediate, or advanced. You can work on specific parts of your body. I like it if I'm having like shoulder issues, go and find a yoga workout that's going to work your shoulders. There's ones that work on your face, your stomach, your hinder, whatever it would be. So think about it. It could be a 10-minute power walk around the block, or taking off of your shoes and walking out in nature. And there's so many studies that show that, you know, there's so much power in working out and getting outside. You're going to get two for the price of one. Any movement can help your mental health. Any movement can help your physical health. So, whatever you do, think of it as just a win. I'm just going to do 5 minutes here. And Kathy said today, let's go ahead and do squats. So, whatever it would be, set yourself up and just saying, I'm going to try to fit in 5 minutes of something that I love to do. Maybe you like to dance and you dance. Take a shower, shut the bathroom door, turn on your music and dance as you're drying off. I don't know, do something fun like that. So, Let me just get into here. Sometimes your stress levels are so high, and all you want to do is crawl up and cry, right? In that fetal position in bed. But when you feel this way, it's important, more important than ever to go ahead and move first. I wished I had learned this at the beginning of my caregiving role because slowing down with stress can actually start attacking your vagus nerve. And if you haven't learned about the vagus nerve and the impacts that you as a caregiver have and how it can affect your vagus nerve, just Google it or chat GPT if you're into chat GPT yet. But chronic stress can make your nervous system hyper responsive to signs of like danger and stress that is lead to like a sense of that you're on edge and you're not safe anymore. And in this state, ordinarily habits feel like mountains then to climb. And so what I'm trying to get at is when you're in this hypersensitive state, another thing added to your plate is going to make you feel overwhelmed versus and your body's going to think that way. Your body and mind though are signaling that you must fight for survival. That's really an extreme thought, but when you are feeling crappy, when you are feeling so stressed, when you are feeling like you're going to break down and cry, that's when your body's telling you, it's giving you that gift to say, I need to move. I need to just go ahead and do something for 10 minutes and see if that will make me feel a little bit better. So it's important to identify your nervous system, identify this and the stress that you're in. Now, I want to focus on exercise in this episode, but there are some non physical things I just wanted to bring up shortly so that you know. In addition to exercising, there are other tools. And I've talked about these in previous podcasts. You can also Google them and find them. But journaling about your thoughts and your feelings and gratitude, deep chest breathing. You could even do that as you're doing yoga and get two for the price of one. Visualizations and focusing on something else right now. Those are things also that can fix your vagus nerve. Now, I didn't, this is just Kathy, non-experience, non-scientific response. I don't think I helped my vagus nerve that was taxed by doing HIIT workouts during that stressful time. It was too much for my body to handle. And so let me tell you this, consider that when you are highly stressed, highly over the top emotional, highly in a hard situation, think about what's the best for your body right now. And I'm just telling you that as a just as a friend. But also consider walking in nature. Anything involving nature, like the sun and the fresh air, can increase your mood and reduce depression and hires your cognitive brain power. And nature also calms you. And another thought is doing activity with music, depending on your situation. If you need something upbeat because you're feeling down, well, then put on the Go Go Girls. I don't know. Or if you need something more relaxing because you just got out of this intense situation, or if anger's pulling you down, what can you do to go ahead and do that? Music is a great thing. Another is do what you love. Oh my gosh, don't do something you hate because you're not going to stick with it. So do something you love. If you like to bike, bike. If you love to garden, garden. If you love the Peloton and you love a certain instructor, go do it because that will bring you joy. But you have to find something that you like. And if you like it and it can get you outside, if you like it and you can hear music, if you like it, do something. So let's say you liked biking and that was your thing and you loved it. Okay, so and you were like, I'm not feeling the energy, but I'm just going to go for a 10-minute bike ride. and just go around the neighborhood like I normally do. And then you're feeling it a little bit more, and you said, I'm just going to go down this road. I'm just going to get a little bit more in because it's just making me feel so much better. And you didn't realize that there was this big hill going down and this big hill going up that you have to now take, right? And you don't have the energy. Oh my gosh. Have you been there? Or maybe you went to a class and you just realized that it felt good at first, but now I'm way over my head. The reason I'm telling you that this is because then your adrenaline kicks in. And adrenaline can be a bad thing, but it also can be a good stress hormone. And adrenaline, when you're in exercise and you're stressing your body, you're producing a hormone that is good for you. And the adrenaline is a stress hormone. And in this situation, you are burning it off and increasing your level of antioxidants and boosting chemicals into your body. You're actually helping your body. And so you go down the hill and you just coast a little bit and you're trying to get up enough momentum and you start pedaling, pedaling, pedaling. So at least some of the momentum will push you up half of the hill and then you use the rest of your body. You get to the top of that hill and you're breathing heavy. That's your adrenaline stress hormone working for you, doing all that work for you. And then hopefully your mind says, I'm proud that I did that. I'm okay doing that. I don't want to do it every day, but I'm proud that I did that. And so that's all helping there. So I don't want you to feel like sweating and working out has to be a bad thing when you move your body. If you're feeling it, or if you're in a situation, think about what that's doing for your body. So let's talk about though if you hate working out. My sister tells me this all the time. I hate working out. I hate the feeling of sweating. I am not motivated. When I come from work, all I want to do is put my pajamas on and go lay in my bed. Well, first of all, I don't want you to blame your brain. Your brain is telling you that you're tired. So I want to share though some science with you about dopamine. Dopamine drives your motivation to move. If you can't seem to get off the couch or you can't seem to open the door in the gym, the reason may be deeper than that you simply dislike exercise. It may be that day you have lack of dopamine that's holding you back. Now, the catch 22 is that exercise boosts and improves your dopamine level. So if you don't exercise, you're never going to have the dopamine. And so just think about those days that you're waiting in the doctor's office, you're sitting in the waiting room, you're sitting at your desk today, or you're waiting on hold with the insurance company, whatever it would be, and you feel exhausted. You feel mentally exhausted. You feel sluggish. You just don't want to move, even when you sat all day. But on those days where you get up and move early, you might not feel as bad. Or maybe you go for a walk around the waiting room or around the halls while your loved one is getting their labs done. You make a point of keeping that dopamine that affects your mindset and it affects your creative thinking and stimulates your pleasure. You keep that level up. Dopamine also can help you see things on more of a positive note. So you want to keep moving that dopamine. It's almost like this Apple Watch. If you have an Apple Watch, it tells you to stand up every hour. It's almost like it's saying, you better stand up every hour because if you don't, this dopamine it just releases out of your body and you don't, it tells your brain to just sit and just relax. And so think about movement as keeping this chemical bubbling inside of you, keeping this chemical going. So I want to go full circle here and talk about the exercise and talk about some more exercises in the season that you're in. Um, I want to talk about what works best for you, and that you only can answer. But I want to give you some ideas and some thoughts and granting yourself some grace if you can't do what you used to do prior to caregiving. And so, generally speaking, you want to go ahead and ask yourself right now, what season am I in? That's the big thing. If you are in hospice right now, or your loved one's in hospice and you're a hospice caregiver right now, you're getting little sleep. So, movement to you might be just little tiny bits and pieces. For me, when I was with my mom last September. She died on October 1st. I had to think about it. Last September, it was running to the mailbox every day or volunteering to go ahead and go to the grocery store so I get some walking in, or stepping out onto the patio and getting the fresh air and having my cup of coffee out on the patio, even when it was cold outside, or doing the dishes or vacuuming when I had to. I wanted to continue to just move a little bit so I wouldn't feel so sluggish. If you think about, if you just heard bad news right now, your body isn't able to go ahead and do all of that. So maybe you just heard bad news right now. Maybe after dinner, I'm going to go for a short little walk. And that's all you can do today. That's movement. Another thing to think about is your calendar tells you what's coming up. Maybe you're in a mediocre season right now and you have appointments, you have to do pharmacy, that sort of thing too. Like if I had 3 days of chemotherapy coming up next week, I would look at that and saying, "What time's the chemotherapy? Could I do my workout before? If it was at a decent hour, I could do it before, but if chemotherapy's at 7 o'clock, usually dentist scheduled his appointments like at 7:15 lab, 8 o'clock doctor's appointment, and then chemotherapy." I'm like, I am not going to get up at 4 or 5 o'clock and exercise, shower, get everything ready. And so if I couldn't do that, then I would look at, I'm going to walk there, or I'm going to call a friend and saying, "Hey, do you want to come for lunch and walk with me?" That sort of thing. You want to go ahead and do that. But you can look at your days to see where you can get your workout in, or get some movement in, or find some hacks to go ahead and make that. Another thought, though, is I know some of you are sole providers and sole caregivers that are doing it, and you can't get out of the house. You can't physically do that based on the care that you're giving your loved one right now. And you can go ahead and find maybe some options. Rosa, if you're listening, I'm using you as an example because you're trying to go ahead and do YouTube videos before your mom wakes up. Or let's say you try to go ahead and um, you're going to say, I'm going to try movement when my when my dad takes his nap, and he takes his nap, and then I'm going to go ahead and do a YouTube video or a yoga, or I'm going to write him a note and walk around the block because he usually sleeps at that time. But also think about, there's going to be days where you're going to be disappointed and you're not going to be able to do anything. So here's where I think about, do you have some backup plans? Can you do your weights while you're watching TV with your loved one? I did this with my mom. I said, "Mom, I didn't get my yoga in today. So I'm going to, while you're watching the Packers game, I'll watch it with you, but I'm going to do some yoga stretches at the same time." And she was asking me tons of questions or whatever it would be, but I wanted to get that in. So on those hard days, maybe you just can't do anything during the day. Well, maybe 5 minutes before you go to bed, you do some stretches, or you do some yoga poses just 5 minutes before. I mean, I don't know how many times I've had a toothbrush in my mouth where I was doing my stretches and just doing movement. and just going ahead and trying to go ahead and release some of that stress and move that dopamine up a little bit. Now, let's say though, it's been a while for you and it's not an intense season nor a quiet season. Now, I want to just want to think of things that may light you up, that might give you a boost. And there's so many fun things. If you're in this kind of this lull season where finally new normal has kind of leveled off for you, and you're just kind of thinking, maybe you set a goal to go ahead and saying, I'm going to start walking in the morning. And this week I'm going to walk around the block. Next week I'm going to do two, two blocks. And you just start setting a goal for yourself. Or you say, you know what? I need to get out of the house. Let me talk with my loved one, or let me talk and seeing if I can't find somebody to sit with my loved one for a couple hours while I go to this new place and join the Zumba class, join whatever class it is. Socially, you might meet new people, or you go ahead and yeah, Lisa, if you're listening, you Lisa actually said, you know what? She wanted to do something fun and she knows she wants to connect more with her daughter. And so she started roller skating with her daughter. It's fun that she's getting the interaction. Call your friend and saying, I want to get out. Or maybe you just enjoy gardening or you just enjoy a hobby. Do that. Find something that you can do that you get a little bit of movement in while you're doing it. Oh my gosh, I am so sore the first few weeks of gardening season because you're on your hands and knees, you're bending over. You never thought a simple thing like squatting down to pull out some weeds is going to go ahead and do that, but you're outside, and that's what's important. Now, exercise is so important. And I know I've shared this many times, but if you haven't heard it, I gained 30 pounds within my first year of caregiving. 30 pounds. I looked at it a year and a half later. I was 30 pounds heavier than I started. A lot of it was coping mechanisms. A lot of it was stress. And a lot of it was not moving and thinking about the tools that I had in front of me. So I want to just tell you stress is going to be always there. It's going to be something that we can't avoid. It is a stressful, hard journey. But if you think about different management tools that we have, exercise is one of them. Moving our body is a tool that will help us reduce our stress and help us decrease all of those risks that I talked about earlier. So, my advice to you today is thinking about how are you feeling today? How are you feeling today? Have you moved today? You can find a way no matter what season you're in. When you make it simple, make it fun, you will continue to do it. So, my charge to you is go outside. Go outside and go for a walk or jump on a bike or do yoga with a friend. Do something you enjoy. Take your grandchild to the park, whatever it would be. Caring for yourself is what you need in this season. And I know it's hard, but exercise can be fun. Exercise should be non negotiable. Moving something each and every day is going to be important. Maybe you take the stairs instead of the elevator. Maybe you park farther away. Maybe you push your loved one in their wheelchair today so that they can get out in the fresh air as well. You got to go ahead and think of movement as a habit, just like you do brushing your teeth. And you know what you need right now. Listen to your body, listen to your mind. And if your mind tells you you hate working out, remember dopamine. Remember that you need to sustain this journey. So filling your cup each day is so important. Thank you for watching this YouTube video, and I hope you found something valuable. If you enjoy these episodes and find them value valuable, please please go ahead and follow the episode. Give me a comment. Tell me what you think. We'll talk to you next week. Bye for now.